Kroger and Stephen Conroy with me. Lots to talk about, from the G7 to AstraZeneca. I want to start with that though, Michael. What's your reaction to this revised advice on the AstraZeneca vaccine? Just another hiccup. The Minister, Greg Hunt, confident that the rollout remains on track in terms of the timeline.
Well, look, as new case studies come to be in relation to blood clotting and the relevant and respective ages at which it's safer to have the vaccine, then the health advice changes and the government advice changes accordingly. That's what I put it down to. And yeah, the government says it's a conservative approach, and that's probably a good thing. But like all of these things, people are in uncharted waters with these vaccines, and of course, nothing is foolproof from day one. So as they grow in knowledge, they grow in decision making.
And while these numbers are very low, the risks, they're being very cautious, Stephen. When it comes to the other view that Brendan Murphy pointed to, and I've picked this up anecdotally, just talking to friends and family in that cohort 50 to 59, that a number weren't going to get it. The AstraZeneca, they were going to wait anyway, given what they'd heard.
Well, Greg Hunt said publicly a couple of weeks ago, look, there'll be lots of Pfizer coming along later in the year. You could just wait for the Pfizer if you don't want to get the AZ. I mean, he actually said that, which undermined completely the push to try and get people to vaccinate. So he is, along with the Prime Minister, solely responsible for this debacle. Like Michael, I have absolutely no difficulty following the advice. Now, I'm in this 50 to 60 category. I've had my first AZ jab. My first thought was, oh my God, what does this mean for my second jab? So, we've been told, no, it's all safe. The second jab has had no secondary effects. And all of the studies around the world. So I would reiterate to people that they should follow the medical advice and they should get their second jab. And there's many, many Australians in that category. But this really comes down to the incompetence of Morrison and Hunt in failing to get Australia with enough vaccine choices. They threw their lot in with AZ, so we could manufacture it here. They threw their lot in with the UQ one, which unfortunately, due to test results, had to dispense with. Pfizer, they did not sign up enough vaccine. They can say, and when a politician says those Pfizer vaccines will be here between October and December, let me tell you, that means they're arriving on December 29. This is incompetence writ large by the Morrison government. They had two simple jobs: get the quarantine system right, build a national quarantine effort, and get the vaccine bought and rolled out. And they have comprehensively stuffed this up, and Australians will suffer because of it.
I was at the news conference with Health Minister Hunt. I asked him about the issue of hesitancy. Have a look and then we'll get Michael's thoughts on it.
How serious is hesitancy within the community? And are you worried this will damage that mood there now?
The most important thing for us to do is, if we do have the medical advice, to follow it. And that's the difference between what's occurred in Australia and so many other countries. We've acted swiftly. We've always had contingencies. So today we put in place the contingency where we lift the age for AstraZeneca, but we lift the age for access to Pfizer. And there was a point when we were going to be doing that in any event. We're doing it now, perhaps a few weeks earlier than we otherwise might have. Sorry, Brendan?
No, I think I'm just saying the same thing, that hesitancy is still quite low in Australia. We know that over 70% of people are intending to get vaccinated. Of course, there are impacts on hesitancy. This may have some impact, but the publication by the TGA in our transparent way of the new data could have impact on hesitancy as well. We believe that the community is more likely to do as we recommend if we are absolutely transparent and follow the medical advice at all times.
And as I said, Michael, earlier, the point that Brendan Murphy made was that there is that cohort that weren't willing to get the other vaccines, so they will now rush out to get this Pfizer, which has the benefit of being done within 3 weeks, first and second doses.
Yeah. Look, mate, there's a hesitancy factor irrespective of which dose you take. I mean, as we know, there's 25 to 30% of people who in the last few months have said they won't take any vaccine at all. And it's like, well, did you take polio vaccines when you were kids? Then you've got Pauline Hanson, who regrettably comes out and says that she doesn't want anything put in her body, so she's not going to take the vaccine. Then you've got the blood clotting with AstraZeneca, so you're going to build up these hesitancy factors. In the end, Kieran, people can either take it or not. If they don't want to take it, that's fine. That's completely up to them. They run the risk of getting the virus and infecting others with the virus that they get. If they don't want to take it, no government's going to force them down, onto the ground and jab them. I took the first dose of AstraZeneca for above 60-year-olds, and I'm happy to get the second dose when it's due. But is there a hesitancy factor amongst people who are, projected to get AstraZeneca? Absolutely there is. Absolutely there is, because of the record of blood clotting that doesn't exist under Pfizer. So, yeah, there will continue to be a hesitancy factor as the numbers still continue to show that people have passed away because of, who knows why, when they've had the AstraZeneca dose.
The thing is, and I guess this is what the government needs to, our authorities, all of us need to communicate effectively, Stephen Conroy, is that the risk, the older you get, is much, much greater of dying from COVID than it is from any, misadventure with a vaccine, Stephen.
Absolutely. I mean, if you just look at around the country, look here in Australia, the overwhelming majority of people, unfortunately, who've passed is in that age group. So there is a much different risk factor if you're over 60. So people, particularly those over 60, should get vaccinated, and they should get vaccinated as soon as they can, particularly if 25% of Australians have no intention of getting vaccinated. They can catch it and they can pass it on to you, whether they're visiting you in a nursing home or they've come round for the Christmas holidays. If you've got non-vaccinated family members, you are putting yourself at risk. So get vaccinated. But again, this comes down to the appalling lack of messaging from the government. I mean, where is the genuinely serious, high-profile education campaign explaining these simple facts to Australians? I mean, Greg Hunt, what are you doing in your day job? Get a decent, sizable advertising campaign onto TVs to reassure Australians and explain to them why they need to take the vaccine.
There needs to be an upgrading of that for sure, the communication. Couldn't agree more. Michael, just finally, your assessment of the Prime Minister on the international stage, the G7 and Paris with Macron. How did you wrap up the week?
Pretty good. My golden rule is that the first trip by an Australian Prime Minister overseas, if there's no damage, it means they've done well, because the Australian press are like piranhas waiting to say that the amateur new boy or girl did badly. And I think, from memory, Rudd and Gillard escaped on their first trip as well. So, at that superficial level, he did well. There are some difficult issues. I thought he handled them well. Those are stagecraft, those events, and, to within an inch of their lives, I thought he did well. But as I said, most Australian Prime Ministers, Rudd, Gillard, etc., have all done well. I remember when Howard was going on his first trip, they were saying, he's not comfortable with foreign affairs. Well, Howard was superb. So, no, he did well, but so did his predecessors, to be quite frank.